Hey, what's up, family, and welcome to Perfecting Your Pursuit, where our goal is to edify your spirit, soul, and body. And those who know me, you already know what I came to do. King steps into the midst of chaos and confusion with one mission in mind: to bring order. With that said, King Isom is at your service. I'm ready to teach. Prince Isom is in your seat, ready to learn. Let's stop, look, and listen for a minute as I prepare to segue into this new installment of our series here. Those who are watching by YouTube, I want to thank you, first of all, for rocking with me. Please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel and podcast with family and friends. Now, anybody who's ever used a lock before, I'm sure you are very familiar with the master lock you see before you. It's actually manufactured by the Master Lock Company, LLC. And in thinking about my topic for today, I did a little digging, a little research on the company. Master Lock is an American company that develops padlocks, combination locks, safes, and related security products. More simply put, the Master Lock Company is all about the safety and security of your valuables and your most prized possessions. The Master Lock Company, this is interesting. They used to spend in their earlier days of marketing nearly all of their annual marketing budget on one Super Bowl commercial. And in that commercial, those who are a little bit older, like myself in our 20s, the Master Lock would be on a bullseye, if you will, and they'd fire a rifle bullet at it, and the lock would remain intact, even though it was fired upon. And this image reinforced the company's slogan, "Tough under fire." As we proceed into this new installment, I believe you'll begin to understand why I chose the Master Lock imagery, the Master Lock slogan, "Tough under fire," as an image to follow. With that said, allow me to introduce our new installment of Managing Your Manhood. It's a soul-searching series, and our subtopic is Mastering the Wed-Lock. Again, our subtopic is mastering. We got to learn how to master the Wed-Lock. This is going to be part one. Let me begin by referencing, it's been a while. Let me pause for a second, man, and shout out to my boy, King John. I haven't recorded in a minute and just been kind of in a little funk and been busy as well. And my boy, King John, he reminded me, man, he said, "King Isom, we need you, brother." That really blessed my soul. And so I'm happy to be back in the lab again. Appreciate you, King John, man. Love you, brother. And speaking of kings, our foundation scripture for managing your manhood, I want to encourage you as well. Go back and listen to part 4. It's called The Threefold Cord of Manhood, where I break down the focus of this particular series of teaching and instruction. But I got to move right now. 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. It says, "The days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged his son Solomon, saying the following words: Be strong and show yourself a man." Showing yourself a man, beloved, is going to require you do so in the midst of opposition, deception, and especially in the modern times in which we live, perversion. The image of manhood has been perverted to such a degree. I don't want to digress there, but you're going to have to work to be strong and show yourself a man. Doing so also requires what I call a perfected understanding. I want to introduce another passage that speaks so strongly to manhood as I get ready to move into this new series entitled Managing Your Manhood, subtopic, Master the Wed-Lock. It's in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse number 20. I like this. It says, "Brothers, do not be children in your understanding. However, in malice be children, but in understanding be men. Again, he says, brothers, he's admonishing the brothers, the men. He says, listen to me now. You should not be a child in your understanding. That's not a good thing, because a child is oftentimes naive. A child is oftentimes naive in their understanding. Children are naive in their awareness. They are naive in how things work. And so he says, I don't want you to be a child as it relates to your understanding. That's a negative thing. He says, however, I do want you to be a child as it relates to malice. The word malice in the Greek, it means kakia. I'm not going to hold you long here. I got to move. But malice means wickedness, having a vicious disposition, spiteful. It's one who has an improper motive for an action. Or, example, a desire to harm others. So we're being taught as men, he says, when it comes to malice, I want you to be like a child. You see, a child, a small child, they don't tend to hold grudges when they've been wronged or been disciplined by an adult. You can spank a child and that child will come right back to you later as you're comforting the child, and they'll love you like nothing happened. So the writer is telling us, listen now, as men, I want you to be like a child when it comes to malice. He says, but in understanding, I want you to be men. When it comes to how you conduct business and how you conduct your affairs, he says, I want you to function like men. So in conclusion, I'm almost done here. In malice, be children. We don't hold grudges. When we uncover new information and we find out that we've been duped and deceived, it may burn us a little bit, but we're going to be like children in terms of how we respond. But now when it comes to business, when it comes to our pursuit of a more perfect understanding, he says, I want you to be men. Let's get it, beloved. Talking about managing your manhood, and more specifically, how we must learn to master the wedlock. Let's dig into this. It's been a very, not famous, but a pretty hot story circulating through social media. I stumbled across it, even though I'm rarely on social media myself. And the day I stumbled across it, I was discussing it with one of my girlfriends. And then shortly after, King John gave me a call. That brother was hyped, and we were discussing this same thing as well. And as I began to ponder and look at the different responses this particular article garnered, I began to say, wait a minute. I see something here. And so this particular article is going to help me by way of my introduction to managing your manhood and our attempt as men to master the wedlock. Let's get into this and see what we can glean from it. All right. It says in the title, one of many that's been put out, it says Akraf, and y'all help me with these names here, Akraf Hakimi net worth, massive fortune controlled by his mother. Let's look at it and read a little bit. Again, this article will serve to help us put some pieces together in our attempt to master the wedlock as we manage our manhood. It says parent Saint German defender Akraf Hakimi has a reported net worth of $24 million, 80% of which is controlled by his mother, as was revealed amid the soccer star's divorce from actress Hiba Abouk. And so Akraf Hakimi, he plays for, I guess, the team, Paris Saint-Germain. $24 million net worth, probably much higher than that. But it looks like he's given the primary bulk of control to his mother. He's getting ready to divorce actress Hiba Abuk, and she got an unpleasant surprise for her. It reads, Hakimi, 24, is 12 years younger than Abuk. That's interesting. That means she's currently about 36 years old. His soon-to-be estranged wife has a net worth herself of $2 million, but the article says this net worth pales in comparison with that of the Morocco defender and what he has amassed. Let's dig a little bit deeper. It says their short marriage could have ended with the soccer player giving up $8.5 million of his resources. But here's the caveat. He managed to hide the fact that nothing is in his name. Hakimi's estranged wife never realized that his mother was the one making all the purchases, including the cars, the jewelry, the clothes. The PSG star received praise from controversial public figure Andrew Tate due to finding the loophole to keep his money, but some have also slammed the move. He parked there for a minute. Here we have a man, a young man, who appeared to have been wise and prudent in his dealings. I told you now, in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, it says, in malice be children, but in understanding, in business, I want you to be men. And it appears that this young soccer player, a young man of 24 years old, he seemed to have been walking in some of the wisdom conveyed in that passage. But as it is with anything concerning truth and wisdom and manhood, some love it, some applaud it, while others hate it and others slam it. We have to be used to that, beloved, but I digress. Go ahead and wrap this up here. It says, how much does Achraf Hakimi earn per month? Now, I'll be getting down to the numbers. But let me go back a little bit. When it says short marriage, and we'll cover this later in other installments, I believe they got married about 3 years ago. And I think they have 2 small children, I believe, from that marriage. So they haven't been married very long. But in terms of his breakdown of his money, it says Hakimi earns about $1 million per month from his soccer team, where he shares the locker room with the likes of Lionel Messi and Neymar, very famous. I don't even follow soccer, but I know both of those men. But in spite of the fact that he earns $1 million a month, he only keeps 20%. The rest of his paycheck, around $215,000 a week. We fly high, no lie, you know it. Bowling! It goes straight into his mother's bank account. He is the 6th highest paid player in Africa and has become extremely popular ever since leading Morocco to the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar semifinals. And it says some other details there as well. But one last interesting fact, and we'll cover it more in detail. His club and country have both showed support for him amid troubling accusations by a woman who claims Hakimi tried to rape her at his home. That concludes the article there. Like I said, this is a very interesting piece because of the images and archetypes contained therein. And we're going to use this article in this installment and some of the next as a springboard into the topic of managing your manhood and our focal point, mastering the wedlock. As we do so, let's direct our attention to the 3 images and archetypes that I want us to focus on and eventually glean some insight from. Image and archetype number 1 for those who are watching via YouTube, is Hakimi himself. Now, he represents the image and archetype of the man. He represents the image and archetype of the man as it relates to our endeavor to master the wedlock. Now, when I say the man, let me dissect it a bit. I'm talking specifically as it relates to young men, whether you be young in age or young in understanding and experience, or a combination of the three. He represents the young man. He also represents the older man, or any man who has an ear to hear and is willing to learn from the case in which he finds himself. Okay? Image and archetype number 2. That's his wife, Mrs. Abu, soon to be Miss. She represents an interesting dynamic. Again, we're talking about images and archetypes, not them personally, but since they are public figures, we can glean some things from their lives and from their circumstances. And so she represents image and archetype number 2, and that is twofold in scope. Number 1, she represents what I have called and coined as the TMW. That's the typical modern woman. Let me say it again. Mrs. Abuk, Akimi's soon-to-be estranged wife, it seems, she represents, number 1, the TMW. That's the typical modern woman. And I want you to brace yourself. Those who listen to me, you know that I like to make a stark contrast as it relates to these images and archetypes. All right. So we have the TMW, typical modern woman, represented here, but we also have the traditional woman, the good woman, the virtuous woman. It's rare that these two commingle together, but as it relates to wedlock and our attempt as men to master the wedlock, you're going to find, beloved, as we move forward, that the TMW and the traditional woman, they are one and the same in certain respects. Oh yeah, although they differ in many respects as it pertains to the wedlock, especially in America, especially in the modern society, the typical modern woman and the traditional woman, they got some things in common. And hear me, beloved, we got to deal with that. We got to deal with that. And I'm looking forward to doing it. King Ison is at your service. I'm almost done. Look at the image and archetype number 3. Now, this is interesting to me. Image and archetype number 3 is the main reason why I chose this particular article, this particular situation and dynamic to introduce this new installment of Managing Your Manhood, subtopic, Mastering the Wedlock. Because see, image and archetype number 3 is a unique identifier. It's a unique locator. Image and archetype number 3 is none other than the mother maternal. Image and archetype number 3 is the mother maternal. It's the woman, yes, but it's the woman in her function as a mother and the maternal instincts that cause her to treat the man-child differently than she'll treat her man. I'm going to go there. You see, the mother maternal, this image and archetype, brothers, hear me, it exposes some hard truths about the woman and her perspective of her man. What do I mean by her man? Well, we're talking about managing your manhood, and our subtopic is men learning how to master the wedlock. And when we speak of wedlock, we're speaking of marriage. And so we're talking about the mother maternal and how her maternal instinct exposes some hard truths about the woman and her perspective on her man, husband, and also her perspective on her man child, her son. We're going to deal with that, beloved. We got to deal with that. We got to deal with that. So a quick recap as I hasten to a close. Image and archetype number one is the man, whether it be a young man in experience, age, and understanding, or whether it be an older man who's wiser but still has an ear to hear and still functions much like King Isom, who's at your service ready to teach, but also remains Prince Isom, who's in your seat ready to learn. Image and archetype number two is a combination, if you will, of the typical modern woman and the traditional woman, the good, the virtuous woman. We're going to see how both of them can fall prey to the pitfalls, if you will, of the wedlock. And then we have our trump card. Then we have our avenue and access to information we may not have had before. That's the mother maternal. We're going to deal with her. These three images and archetypes will help the man to master the wedlock if we can just get somebody to teach us the concepts. Good news for you, beloved. King Isom is at your service, and I'm ready to do just that. I'm ready to teach. Let's conclude with our Q&A. Man, I'm feeling good. We're talking about managing your manhood. Part one, our introduction of learning how to master the wedlock. Now, I want to conclude this segment. I'm doing good on time. I want to conclude this segment with some questions to ponder and answer en route to learning how to master the wedlock. We're going to deal with these questions as we move forward using this article and other experiences that come across our way. Question number one is actually going to be our essential question for this next few segments and really managing your manhood in general. And that question is this: how does a man perfect and protect his life and livelihood? Let me say it again. Our essential question: how does a man perfect and protect his life and livelihood? We're going to deal with that. Next question, and this may be a bit controversial, but I'm going to bring it out. Is entering the modern day marriage contract and construct a wise move for a wise man? Is entering into the modern day marriage contract, marriage construct, is that a wise move for a wise man? Hear me now. I didn't say getting married. I said entering into a modern day marriage contract. I'm going to show you that the two are not the same. Is that a wise move for a wise man? Next, does a woman deserve half of a man's resources in the event of an unfortunate divorce? Does a woman deserve half, as Mrs. Abuk in this story sought to receive and retrieve half of Hakimi's net worth in their pending divorce? Does she deserve it? Next question. What makes a woman, whether it be a TMW, typical modern woman, or a traditional woman, a good girl, a virtuous woman, a Proverbs 31 woman, what makes these women think that they deserve such a deal? Because hear me, beloved, all of them think they do. When I say all, I mean the vast majority, by the way. 99.99999% of them, they think that they actually deserve such a deal. Half in the event of a divorce. What makes them think that? We're going to deal with that. And then why do the governments and the powers that be in many of these countries, especially in the Western countries, especially in the European Union, if you will, why do they promote a marriage contract, a marriage construct that favors the women in such a way? I'm talking about questions we need to ponder and answer as we learn how to master the wedlock. And here's an extra credit question for us to consider, because the article says that Hakimi was 24, that's the man, and Miss Abuk is 12 years older than him. Now, she's a very attractive woman from what I can see, but she's 12 years older, 36, if you will, married to a 24-year-old. Here's the extra credit question to ponder and answer as we seek to master the wedlock. Is it wise for a man to marry an older woman? Let me ask it again, because I'm ready to deal with it. Is it wise for a man to marry an older woman? The Bible said, we read it earlier, in children be malice, but in understanding be men. In the manner in which you conduct your business, be men. In the practical ABCs and 1, 2, 3s of your life and livelihood, we need to be men. And so we're going to answer these questions and more as we proceed in managing your manhood in our attempt to master the wedlock. So in closing, beloved, hear me now. I want to warn you beforehand. I'm going in on this one, beloved. I'm going in. With that said, King Isom is at your service. I'm ready to teach. Prince Isom is in your seat. Ready to learn. Get ready for it, beloved. We coming. You've been listening to Perfecting Your Pursuit with Reginald King Isom. We ask that you like, subscribe, and share our podcast and YouTube with family and friends. I am a minister and a motivational speaker. If you'd like to book me for an engagement, please visit my website at perfectingyourpursuit.com or look in the description box for more details. If you desire to make a donation, you can visit the aforementioned, my website, or the description box to assist you in doing so. I want you to stay tuned for our next installment of Managing Your Manhood as we seek to learn, live, and lead a better understanding of how to master the wedlock. And as always, we pray that your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless unto the coming of Yeshua our Messiah. Until next time, shalom.